Welcome to Matchpack, your statistical guide to the weekend of Premier League action. 180 games have been played as we gear up for a busy 12 days of football. 29 goals were scored last time, increasing the tally to 473 so far, just 5 fewer than at this stage last season. Our teams have scored 28 from the spot. 3 of those came last weekend, the joint highest match week this season for penalties. And after less than a year in charge of Swansea City, Paul Clement becomes the 6th managerial departure of the season.
Arsenal versus Liverpool, 2 Premier League titans battling for a place in the top 4. In the third weekend of fixtures, it was an afternoon to forget for the Gunners, a 4-0 loss at Anfield highlighting a perceived gulf between the sides. And their recent record against Liverpool doesn't make for pretty reading. Since Jurgen Klopp took over as the Reds' boss, he's yet to be defeated by Wenger. 3 wins and 1 draw, an excellent return against the 3-time Premier League champions. A testament to Klopp's impressive record is just how much the Reds struggled against Wenger before the Germans' arrival on Merseyside. Just 3 wins in the 20 games prior to his appointment.
Arsenal, as we know, they have their own style of play, similar to Liverpool, where they don't like to change for the opposition too much. So they will go and attack Liverpool, they will push bodies forward, and that suits Liverpool down to the ground, because if they leave any spaces behind Arsenal with the pace and the power on the counter-attack that Liverpool have, the likes of Mane and Salah and Coutinho who can find those passes, then Arsenal can find it very difficult to contain Liverpool when they're playing that way.
One thing that will have pleased Arsenal fans this season is their ability to claw their way back into matches. So far, they've gained 10 points from losing positions, second only to Everton, who have 12.
Certainly, I think when you look at Arsenal, they don't always start the game that well. Sometimes they find themselves a goal down and probably don't kick into action till after they've conceded a goal. So that, for me, shows maybe a lack of focus a little bit, and not all tuned in as a team maybe when the first whistle goes. So I think you can look at that stat either way, but great that they're still managing to turn things around in games.
So all signs point to late drama on Friday, and the history of this encounter certainly backs that up. There have been 17 goals scored in the 90th minute or later in this match in the Premier League era, more than any other fixture in the competition. Whilst Liverpool's form has been impressive, recent draws against Everton and West Bromwich Albion have somewhat stalled their progress. This may have something to do with the number of changes Klopp is making to the starting 11. This season, the German has tinkered with his team 69 times. That's 23 more than Southampton, who made the second most changes.
Being in the Champions League this season, the extra games, this is why you're seeing Jurgen Klopp doing what he's doing at the minute. And they've got real quality now to come off the bench. You saw what he did against Everton, made a lot of changes there, and it was still a very strong first 11.
Despite the chopping and changing, one man who's impressed in a much maligned defence for Liverpool this campaign is Joe Gomez. The defender has won 2 caps for England this season, winning the Man of the Match award against Brazil in his first start, and he leads the Liverpool team in terms of tackles won. He's also registered 2 assists, more than any of his defensive colleagues.
For me, he's probably been Liverpool's best defender this season. He's come back strong this season. He's been playing right back, he's been playing centre back. I think in the future he'll end up a centre back. I think that's his best position. But already you've seen some great performances from him. He's broken into the England side, done really well there on the biggest stage, and looks like he's improving all the time.
Arsenal's home form has been stellar this calendar year, picking up 49 points from a possible 57. Their only blip since April came against Manchester United earlier in the month. Liverpool have, however, hit unprecedented heights on the road in recent weeks, becoming the first side in top-flight history to win 4 consecutive away games by a margin of at least 3 goals. So, which way will this one swing? Will Wenger finally get that first Premier League win over Klopp?
Salah, Mane, Coutinho, Firmino, all these guys are in really good form in a minute, and if they're left space to perform and allowed to play their game, then I think Arsenal are going to struggle to contain them. So it all depends if Arsenal can set up a game plan to stop those forward players, but I just don't see it happening.
With only 32% of wins during his reign, Paul Clement's spell at Swansea City came to an end on Wednesday. With just 3 wins this term, the South Wales side are looking for their 4th manager since the start of last season. Their home form has also been below par, having scored just 5 goals at their own ground in the competition since the start of the campaign. Their scoring opportunities have been few and far between, finding the back of the net a league low 10 times. Only 2 teams in Premier League history have scored fewer after 18 games of the season. While they've had just 36 shots on target in 2017-18, opponents Crystal Palace have registered 33 more. As for Palace, their wait for an away goal this season is finally over, as they scored 3 against Leicester City. Christian Benteke's strike ending a run of 934 minutes without finding the net on their travels in the Premier League. Their first away league win in the competition in 11 attempts also stretched their unbeaten run to 7 games, their longest in the top flight since October 1990. Under Roy Hodgson, the South London side have improved defensively. They've kept clean sheets in 3 consecutive away games for the first time in the Premier League. They conceded 15 goals in the first 7 games of his reign. That's dropped to just 6 in their last 7. It's little surprise they've risen 4 places to 14th in the table.
The Manchester City juggernaut continues to gather pace. Raheem Sterling's double in the last 10 minutes putting the gloss on a 4-1 win over Tottenham Hotspur. The Englishman's tally of 11 Premier League goals this season is more than he's scored in any other, while 7 of those strikes have come in the 80th minute or later, proving crucial on a number of occasions. That result at the Etihad was City and Pep Guardiola's 16th successive Premier League win as the club continue to extend the longest streak of victories in the history of English League football. However, the Spaniard has some way to go before equalling his own best streak as a boss. 19 consecutive wins with Bayern Munich between October 2013 and March 2014. How Bournemouth would relish the luxury of concerning themselves with the length of a winning run. Scoring has been their biggest problem. Eddie Howe's men have drawn a blank in front of goal in half of their games this season, the latest in their resounding defeat to Liverpool on Sunday, the 9th time this campaign they've failed to find the net. That lack of a cutting edge has contributed to a run of form that's seen them fail to win in their last 6, with only 2 teams picking up fewer points than the Cherries in that time. But away from home, there's room for positivity. The South Coast side have lost just 1 of their last 5 on the road, gaining 8 points in the process.
Sam Allardyce's revival of the Toffees continued as Everton beat Swansea City on Monday night. For opponents Chelsea, back-to-back league wins leaves them 3rd in the table. For all of the criticism that is sometimes aimed at him, Wayne Rooney has been prolific since returning to his boyhood club, netting 10 goals so far. That leaves him boasting the highest shot conversion rate in the league of players to have had more than 20 shots. More evidence that form is temporary and class is permanent. The rest of the Toffees attack have been busy too. It's in the second half where they've turned up the gas, producing far more chances, shots and goals, impressive finishes or sluggish starts. Receiving plenty of plaudits this season is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was a busy figure in their 3-1 win over Swansea on Monday night, netting his 3rd of the season. It's not just goals in his repertoire either. He's prolific in the air, leading the line amongst his colleagues for aerials won. And staggeringly, he has more than double that of Michael Keane. Can he help the Blues soar into a rich vein of festive form?
What I've seen over the last 5-6 weeks is someone that is actually maturing in terms of his technical work, in terms of bringing people into play. Physically he's very strong and he's getting stronger because he's only young, and he's really good in the air, so I've been really impressed with him.
One area of concern is Allardyce's home record against Chelsea. In his games at Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn Rovers, West Ham United and Sunderland, he managed just 2 home wins.
Maybe at Bolton, at Blackburn he was always the massive underdog, but now I think he's got a team at Everton that can compete with Chelsea. Chelsea won't enjoy going to Goodison Park. It's one of the last few of the stadiums that are really tight and compact, and you know, this Christmas period the atmosphere will be really, really good.
It's in the air where Chelsea have been particularly dangerous, although one of their big threats, Alvaro Morata, is suspended this weekend. In comparison to last season, they're averaging more crosses per game, which has contributed to their 10-headed goals so far, 2 more than last season's total. Conte is showing impressive adaptability.
There's been a shift in style, 100%. They tend to put the ball in from various angles on the right-hand side, and when you've got somebody like Morata who's fantastic in the head, you have to provide crosses for him.
Lining up in goal for the Blues is Thibaut Courtois. It's been a solid season. His save percentage of 72.3 is his highest since arriving 4 seasons ago. With this weekend's opponents netting more home goals than the likes of Tottenham Hotspur and Liverpool, it's set to be a busy Saturday for the Belgian.
He's a great shot stopper, he's good with his feet, and he's just a really, really good all-round goalkeeper who, if you're in that back three of Chelsea, will fill you full of confidence when you have somebody like Thibaut Courtois behind you.
Their defence has had a busy time too. Of last season's top 6, only Manchester United have faced more shots than the Blues so far. With 14 goals conceded, 3 more than at this point last campaign, stopping the bleeding will be key.
It's a concern that they are conceding more opportunities. I think last season it was very difficult to, as an opponent, to see where the goal would be coming from against Chelsea. They were so dogged, determined, organised. This year I think there has been a few chinks. There have been opportunities where teams can open up Chelsea.
From Merseyside to London, it's been goals galore when these two have gone head-to-head recently. In their last 7 Premier League meetings, there's been an average of 4.3 goals per game. So, with precious points at stake in a vital winter period, who will prevail in the battle of the Blues at Goodison?
Chelsea will enjoy going to Goodison Park because of the atmosphere. Their players will enjoy the intense rivalry that both teams have, and I think it's going to be a really tight game. And but I just think that Chelsea, with Hazard and Morata, Willian or Pedro, whoever plays, has just got maybe that too much quality for this Everton side. So I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Chelsea.
Leicester City will be looking to bounce back from defeat to Crystal Palace as they welcome Manchester United. The Foxes come into this game knowing that only the top 4 sides have won more points over the last 10 Premier League games. Opponents Manchester United, who suffered a shock defeat at Bristol City in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday, picked up their 3rd consecutive league away win last time out. Romelu Lukaku has endured mixed fortunes this term. 7 goals in his opening 7 games preceded just 1 strike in the following 9 matches. But with 2 in 2, and having been involved in 5 goals in his last 6 league games against Leicester, he could be one to watch. Leicester, meanwhile, won't be too downhearted by that loss to Palace in what was only Puel's 2nd defeat in the Premier League since taking charge in October. The Frenchman's overseen a dramatic improvement in form. In fact, the Foxes are unbeaten in 7 of their 9 games since his arrival.
I actually think Leicester have gone back to their old style when they actually won the Premier League. I think they're playing more counter-attacking football, catching people on the break, in transitions, and using their pace up front, which has been really successful.
Leicester picked up one of their 2 Premier League victories over the Red Devils in dramatic fashion in 2014. The visitors were leading 3-1 before David Nugent and then Esteban Cambiasso hit back to level matters. And the Foxes became the first newly promoted side to score 4 or more against United, completing a 5-3 win.
This week on Matchback, we're asking which team has been involved in the most goalless draws in Premier League history. Keep watching. As always, we'll reveal the answer later in the show.
Another defeat for Stoke City last weekend sees the side at the wrong end of the Premier League table. They sit in 17th, 5 points worse off than at this stage of last season. The Potters have managed just 1 win in their last 8 Premier League matches, conceding 19 goals in that time. That's their highest tally after 18 games of a top-flight season since 1984-85. It's not an especially merry festive season for Mark Hughes and his team.
Stoke are struggling. I don't know why. They're struggling to defend. They're conceding too many goals. They have to be working together, you know, from the front all the way through the team to the back, and if they can tighten it up, then I think results will change.
They host a West Bromwich Albion side this weekend who also find themselves in dangerous territory. Winless in 16 league games, the Baggies have been in a steady decline. And with just 14 points from a possible 54, they've slipped into the relegation zone. At this stage last season, though, it was a different story. The team were flying, sitting 9th and contending for a place in Europe. So what can they do to recapture their form of last year?
You have to get this negativity of losing every week or not getting victories. He has to turn that around and try and get them obviously winning games, and winning games breeds confidence, and I think that's one of the biggest things they're lacking is their confidence within the squad.
A contributory factor to West Brom's problems has been their inability to recapture their aerial threat. During the 2016-17 campaign, only Arsenal managed more headed goals, with Salomon Rondon netting the 5th most in the league with 5. However, the side haven't been playing to their strengths in the same way this time around, with Rondon yet to score from a header. In fact, the Baggies are down on their seasonal stats overall for headed efforts and headed goals.
That was one of their strongest points. You talk about West Brom, that jumps off the page, but this season, for whatever reason, they've slipped away behind it.
Stoke have simply been conceding too many goals. In fact, they've let in the joint most in the first half, and they've shipped more than any other team in the second period of games, leaving the side with the worst defensive record in the league this term. Unsurprisingly, this season has also seen a decline in Jack Butland's form. The shot stopper has saved 56% of the efforts to come his way, the lowest of his career at Stoke. He's let in 32 of the 39 goals the side have conceded so far in the competition. So what's caused his difficult season?
For me, he's not getting enough cover in front of him, and I just don't mean the defenders, I mean the whole team as a unit. They have to tighten up, they have to get their shape quicker, get into position much quicker than they are doing, and give Jack more protection.
The Potters do, however, have a reliable veteran in their ranks. Ryan Shawcross has been an integral figure in the heart of the Stoke defence since his Premier League debut in 2008. His consistency through the years has earned him the captain's armband and the backing of the club's supporters. He's racked up the most interceptions, headed clearances and blocks of any Stoke player in Premier League history. And with the defender recently expressing a desire to see out the rest of his career with the club, fans will be hopeful he can get the team back on track.
He's Mr. Stoke, if you ask me. He's been there such a long time. He's the captain of the football club. He's the leader of the whole sort of setup, the whole Stoke City, and he's the go-to man that all the players and fans look to. And you know, I'm sure I'd love to see him finish his career there because you know he's had such a sterling career at Stoke City.
These two sides have met 17 times in the competition, with Stoke just having the edge over their opponents. But with the head-to-head record pretty evenly matched, who'll come out on top in this crucial contest at the foot of the table?
It's going to be a close, sort of gritty game, but I actually fancy Stoke to get a result. I think it'll be very, very close, very tight. So I'm going to go Stoke 2, West Brom 1.
Burnley and Turf Moor await for a Tottenham Hotspur side that are down on their luck after a resounding defeat to runaway league leaders Manchester City, in which Spurs only recorded 2 shots on target in a 4-1 loss. Burnley continue to defy expectations after a goalless draw at Brighton and Hove Albion kept them in 6th. That shutout was Burnley's 9th clean sheet of the campaign, meaning they've successfully kept the opposition at bay in half of their games this term. Sean Dyche's side have conceded 12 goals, level only with the 2 Manchester sides. Only United, meanwhile, have more shutouts than the Clarets.
Well, I think Burnley have been superb in their structure. They're defensively so good off the ball. Everyone knows their roles and responsibilities. They make it very difficult for opposing teams. They're very compact and they are very, very difficult to break down. And I think you have to give them a lot of credit and the manager a lot of credit for that.
With just 2 wins in their last 7, Spurs may be struggling for positives, but the form of Christian Eriksen will at least provide some cause for optimism. The Dane has been involved in a goal in each of his last 4 Premier League outings, with 2 goals and 2 assists in that time. Burnley's solitary Premier League win over their opponents came on the final day in 2010. Goals from Gareth Bale and Luka Modric put Spurs in control before Wade Elliott and Jack Cork made it 2-2. The Clarets, already relegated, went ahead and then bowed out of the top flight in style thanks to Stephen Thompson.
Mauricio Pellegrino's tinkering hasn't had the desired effect. In Southampton's last 5 Premier League games, he's made 25 changes to their starting lineup, 21 more than in the 13 matches prior to that. It's coincided with a poor run. The Saints are now without a win in 5 league games, leaving them hovering just 3 points above the drop zone, with a busy schedule now looming. One element of Southampton's problems has been conceding from distance. A league-high 38% of the goals they've shipped have come from outside the area, the latest in their 1-0 defeat at Stamford Bridge. Marcos Alonso's free kick was the 5th set-piece Pellegrino's men have let in during his reign. One positive, the South Coast side do tighten up defensively in the second half of matches. This weekend they host Huddersfield Town, who scored twice either side of the break last time out, not only recording their first away victory in 8 Premier League games, but also ending their 8-match barren spell on the road without finding the net. 2 of those goals came from the boot of Aaron Moy, a relief for the Australian, who hadn't seen his own name on the scoresheet in 8 top-flight games. With his brace, he doubled his tally of Premier League goals for the season, joining Laurent Depoitre and Steve Mounier on 4. The Terriers' next highest scorers this season has been own goals. They've twice benefited from their opponents putting the ball into their own net. A joint league high 62% of their goals have been scored in the first half.
Another game week, another goalless draw for Brighton and Hove Albion. The Seagulls played out their 3rd of the season in a credible stalemate with high-flying Burnley. Glenn Murray missing a penalty as his side had to settle for a point. Chris Hughton's team did, however, keep a clean sheet, having shipped 9 goals in their 3 previous games. Wins haven't come easy for this week's hosts on the South Coast, with just 2 victories on home turf this season. Only West Bromwich Albion have fewer. They also need to address their struggles in front of goal. The Seagulls have netted just once in their last 6 Premier League games, after scoring 8 in the 6 before that. Watford have issues of their own to address, including staying in front. The Hornets have already dropped 13 Premier League points from leading positions this season. Watford have issues of their own to address, including staying in front. The Hornets have already dropped 13 Premier League points from leading positions this season, 1 more than in the entirety of last term. Add those 13 onto their current tally of 22, and they could be sat 4th in the table. Marco Silva's side have suffered a reality check after a blistering start to the campaign that saw them sitting in the Champions League places after match week 8. They're now winless in 5 top-flight games, conceding 12 goals and picking up just a single point from a possible 15.
Earlier, we invited you to name the team that's played out the most goalless draws in Premier League history. The answer? Aston Villa, who before relegation in 2016 had been involved in 98 stalemates, the last of them against Newcastle United in their penultimate game of that season.
West Ham United will be full of confidence heading into their match-up with Newcastle United. Rafa Benitez's men have picked up just 1 point in their last 9 games, their longest winless spell in league football since May 2015. The Hammers' resurgence continues after a victory at Stoke City. They've now picked up 7 points from 9. One factor that's been central to their improvement has been a change in personnel. Goalkeeper Joe Hart has been replaced by the Spaniard Adrian, who has now kept 3 shutouts in 4 Premier League games.
I think Adrian has done extremely well, but I think he's mainly been successful from the improvement of the defence of West Ham. I think Bilic, in his reign, the defence wasn't as structured or regimented, and perhaps Joe Hart struggled with that back line. I think Adrian has benefited highly from that, but he's a fantastic shot stopper. He's done well.
Newcastle have been on a downward spiral in recent weeks. The Magpies have lost 11 of their last 18 Premier League games. Only bottom club Swansea City have a worse record. Rafael Benitez, though, has won 7 and lost none of his last 9 Premier League encounters with David Moyes. It was Michael Owen who proved the difference when these two met back in 2005. Owen's 2 goals put the Magpies ahead before Alan Shearer moved to within 1 goal of Jackie Milburn's Newcastle scoring record. Owen completed his first hat-trick for the club, either side of a Marlon Harewood penalty, to seal a 4-2 win.
An app start to the festive period as match week 19 kicks off with a battle of the Reds. Arsenal against Liverpool on Friday. Chelsea travel to a resurgent Everton in the early game on Saturday before Leicester host Manchester United in the late kick-off. And that all precedes a bumper run of 3 consecutive days of Premier League football beginning on Boxing Day. Grounds around the country will be full of festive cheer. 10 games to look forward to from Tuesday through to Thursday. Ex-Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson has won the most games on Boxing Day with 16, the last of them thanks to Javier Hernandez in 2012. Robbie Fowler's scored the most goals on December the 26th with 9. He's also one of just 5 players to have scored a Boxing Day hat-trick against Bolton in 2001. And only 3 teams have been bottom on Boxing Day morning and avoided the drop: West Brom, Sunderland and Leicester. From Dave Farrer, me, John Champion and the team, it's goodbye.